I am really, really excited for this first talk. Often when we talk about like animal advocacy, especially as it relates to farming, and we think about like moral circle expansion, it's like hard enough to get people to care about the animals that walk on land, the fuzzy ones that are cute and we have a lot of stories about. And then when we talk about aquatic animals, and especially like some of the animals that are farmed the most, which are our aquatic animals, it's like even harder for people to connect and to tell those stories about why these animals matter. And for non-vegans, I know this is like the hardest thing. People always say like, but fish don't feel pain. I'm sure a lot of you have heard that, which is obviously not true. So yeah, I'm really excited that we're starting strong. So Vero Rodriguez is going to talk to us about factory farming at sea, the salmon industry, which is a very important industry here in the UK, and take it away.
So hi everyone, I'm Veril. I work as a campaigns manager at Ecotricity, which is kind of the umbrella of Green Britain Group, which has the Green Britain Foundation under it as well, which is our campaigning arm of the group. The Ecotricity was founded by Dale Wins, which I'll speak to you about in a bit. But let's start over here. This is what factory farming looks like under sea, or at sea. Because most of it, it's quite hidden. You can't really see what's happening. And I think it's an industry, like Ellie was saying, it's not very well exposed compared to the other stuff that's been happening on land. And this is not a rare one-off incident. This is what it looks like for millions of salmon being intensively farmed across the coastline of Scotland. Now, Scotland is home to over 200 active farms, producing over 200,000 tons of fish per year. And that makes it the UK's third largest exporter of farmed salmon in the world, after Norway and after Chile as well. And salmon is Britain's #1 food export as well. It's worth nearly between 600 and 900 million annually, depending on the year. But and this is interesting. It only represents 0.3% of Scotland's economy, which is actually not that much at all. And yet, this industry is disproportionately affecting the environment with mass mortality, disease, pollution, and also animal suffering. The three biggest players in this industry are Mowi, who were formerly known as Marine Harvest, a Norwegian multinational and it's also the largest salmon company in the world. Then we've got Scottish Sea Farms, which is a joint venture of Norway's Leroy Seafood and SalMar. And then after that, we've got Cook Aquaculture. They're a Canadian company that's growing. They're having a growing footprint in the UK. And these companies operate in rural coastline communities, but their impact reaches far beyond the local economies. They operate in the oceans, ecosystems, and also in political lobbying. And today I want to take you beneath the surface of this industry to show you what we've uncovered through first-hand investigations and what we're doing to challenge it. But first, let me tell you a bit about who we are and what we do. So I work for Ecotricity, which is the world's first green energy company, founded back in 1995. We supply 100% renewable energy and green gas to homes and businesses. But we are not just an energy company. We also do a lot of campaigning and a lot of advocacy work as well. We don't have shareholders. We use our profits to build more green infrastructure. Windmills, solar parks, and we also do a lot to challenge the status quo and also improve or revolutionize the food system industry as well. And at the heart of all of this is Dale Wins, our founder. Dale was a former traveller who built a windmill on a hill in Stroud, Gloucestershire, and he ended up launching a movement, the Green Britain movement. And now he's one of Britain's leading voices on climate, energy, and food reform as well. You might have also known him as the chairman of Forest Green Rovers, which is the world's greenest football club, and it's also the world's first vegan football club as well. Now, Dale isn't just a businessman. In fact, he doesn't like the term businessman. He's a campaigner, he's an environmentalist, and that's where the Green Britain Foundation comes in, which is the campaigning arm of what we do. And it's been set up to take on the structural causes of environmental destruction. And one of the biggest campaigns that we've got going on right now is ending factory farming. So why the salmon industry, which is a tiny industry, yet it's riddled with issues. It's got animal cruelty, it's got environmental pollution, it's got legal breaches, lack of proper oversight, it doesn't have that much regulation as well. And most importantly, we can expose it. And we can investigate it, we can build legal cases, and we can shift public awareness and policy in this process as well. And that's what this talk is about. And that's what the Green Britain Foundation is doing. We're not just calling for change, we're also driving it in different ways. So let's delve into the realities of salmon farming, particularly in Scotland. While supermarket shelves often show us this really nice product, as they do with other animal products as well, right? They present this really healthy, sustainable choice, but the industry harbors significant environmental and ethical concerns. So looking at one of the key issues that I've got listed down over here. So farm salmon are naturally grey, they're not pink. And you might have seen that if you've watched Seaspiracy. Pink flesh comes from synthetic, I actually can't pronounce the name, synthetic astaxanthin. It's basically a pigment found in krill, but this is a lab-made version of it that they put in the feed of the salmon so that the flesh becomes pink. And that's not for nutrition or anything like that. It's purely just for marketing purposes, for marketing appeal, so that they sell more of it. Now, in the EU and UK, producers can choose their desired shade of pink from a Samo Farm color chart, as you can see over here. And the farmers can kind of pick the number, and then they kind of add that much of that chemical to the feed, which results in that pinkness. Much like going to B&Q and selecting your shade of paint. Toxic chemicals are routinely used to keep the fish alive in overcrowded conditions and stressful conditions. Farms have to rely on a cocktail of chemicals. And the other reason I listed these down over here is because I actually couldn't pronounce it. We know hydrogen peroxide, which is an agent, which is the same chemical used in bleach, actually, in hair bleach. And in high doses, it can burn the gills of the fish and cause mass deaths. Just going to play this video in the background when I'm speaking as well. So then we've got the second one over here, which is a neurotoxin used to kill sea lice. But also, because it leaches into the water, it's toxic to lobsters and other crustaceans as well. Then we've got the third one over here. I'm not going to try and pronounce it. It's an insecticide linked to aquatic toxicity. And the last one, formalin, is a known carcinogen used in some treatments routinely. And these chemicals don't just stay in the pen. It's not like how it is on land farms where the pollution on the land is just in one small space. These chemicals leach into the surrounding waters, harming marine wildlife and also contributing to chemical resistance in parasites, similar to antibiotic resistance in humans. Now, sea lice is a common issue. There's a sea lice epidemic happening on these farms. These tiny parasites attach to fish, eating away their skin and causing open wounds, stress, and then eventually leading to death. One single salmon can have dozens of these attached to them. The industry solution to this is more chemicals, but the irony is that more fish actually die from these chemicals being added because they just suffocate from it. Than the sea lice dying from them. And worse still, the lice don't just stay on the farms, they actually spread and start to affect wild juvenile salmon as well, often killing them before they make it back out to the sea. The death toll is staggering on salmon farms. In fact, over 25% of the salmon on the farms die before they are harvested. 25, more than 25 in some cases as well. In 2022, 14.8 million fish died on the farms due to lice, due to disease, handling, overcrowding, and also algae blooms. And I calculated that, so 14.8 fish died. That is 40,000 fish dying per day across Scotland. I just did a bit more calculations to see, like, if we spread that evenly around 200 salmon farms in Scotland, that would be about 200 deaths per farm per day. Individuals being killed per day. Sometimes these deaths come in huge numbers, that the fish actually have to be dumped in mass, or turned into fish oil, or pet food, or even fuel. And these industrial losses, these are industrial losses, yet the industry calls itself as sustainable. The waste from these farms is off the chart. Now here's what a typical salmon farm discharges. Feces and untreated feed, which smothers the ocean floor and destroys ecosystems. Nitrogen and phosphorus, which fuels algae blooms. And then we've got microplastic as well from the feed pellets and also the nets. And to put that into perspective, a single salmon farm of 200,000 fish produces as much sewage as a town of 65,000 people. That's how much waste it produces. And that's dumped directly into the sea, completely untreated. Escaped fish are another common thing as well. When things go wrong, as they often do, tens of thousands of salmon escape from torn nets. This article over here is from just a month ago, and this article over here is from a year ago. And this happens a couple of times every year. And they threaten wild salmon. Because they interbreed with wild salmon, weakening their genetic diversity and increasing disease risk as well. And they take the sea lice that are attached to them and then they spread it on to the wild salmon as well. That's another concern. And these aren't just isolated issues. This is the nature of the system. And that's why we're trying to expose it. Now, we're working across the UK to uncover what's happening behind closed doors, or in this case, beneath the surface of the sea. Our goal isn't just to expose this cruelty, it's to drive systemic change. We are doing undercover investigations as Green Britain Foundation. We're taking legal action. We're doing we're putting pressure on regulatories, and we're also doing sustained public campaigns as well to raise awareness on this. And one of our most important cases so far has been centered around a facility called Whiteshore Cockles. It's in the Outer Hebrides, a remote salmon disposal site where our team uncovered evidence of illegal dumping. So what you're about to see, I've got a video next. What you're about to see is a short film by Rupert Evelyn, who's our lead investigator. And this investigation has led to 2 criminal investigations, one by SEPA, which is the Scottish Environmental Protection Agency, and another one by the local authority as well. So let's take a look. It's about 4 minutes long.
Scotland's salmon industry has a dirty secret on these shores. On one of the Outer Hebrides' pristine beaches lies a toxic waste ground. This is Whiteshore Cockles, the salmon farmer's graveyard. On January the 31st, 2024, licensed burial ended. Whiteshore Cockles promised to stop. They didn't. Here, thousands of tons of diseased, toxic salmon, unfit for human or animal consumption, are buried. For years, Scottish ministers turned a blind eye, helping to line the pockets of an industry swimming in profits. Our investigation uncovers a grim reality. Illegal burials continued unabated. Sheep, birds and cats roam freely, risking disease spread. Dead fish rot for days in violation of regulations. Toxic waste seeps onto public beaches. While official agencies look away, locals who regularly complain have dubbed it Stinky Bay. The stench reaches for miles. Documents reveal Whiteshore Cockle's blatant deception. In May, they assured SEPA, we ceased burial on January the 31st. Our footage from the very next day tells a different story. It's not just the paperwork that reveals their dishonesty. Fraser MacDonald is a Whiteshore Cockles director.
Since when? When did you stop doing that?
We stopped doing it when the government derogation ended.
Oh, when was that?
He's lying. When word got out we were investigating, Maui, the world's largest farmed salmon producer, had an employee known as Chin confront investigators.
Go back to where you came from. It's a bit racist, isn't it, mate? Go back to where you came from.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
Really? You're wearing a Maui top while you're saying that. You know that. You're representing the company.
He wasn't alone.
If Angus moves out of the way and they decide to ram us with the tractor, then we're pretty much dead.
Whiteshore directors went further, tailing and blockading investigators until police intervened. Even after multiple exposés over the years, the Fish Health Inspectorate, Scottish Government, local council, APHA all stand accused of inaction. More than £500,000 of public money has been sunk into a disposal facility that doesn't work. Yet for years, Angus MacDonald and his son Fraser promised it would. These are their empty words. In 2015, they said we hope to have the dry unit on site and operational by mid-June. In 2017, our dryer system will be up and running by April, completed by the summer. 2018, the design of the dryer has been completed. We are awaiting costs before ordering for delivery. In 2019, everything's on track. We'll be in full production with the new system by the end of the year. Then in 2021, we fully expect to have our new system up and running by the 31st of March 2022. In 2023, estimated commissioning completion due date December 23. January 24, still having glitches which will require upgrading some machinery. March 24, completed, commissioned and fully operational by August 24. But then in May, it transpires the boiler that was specified is not even capable to efficiently provide the needs necessary. The Outer Hebrides produce 20% of Scotland's salmon, the UK's largest food export, farmed by foreign-owned multi-million-pound companies ready to intimidate, to protect their filthy secrets. Environmental groups are demanding immediate closure of Whiteshore Cockles, a full investigation into regulatory failures, and a criminal probe into the company's practices. This scandal reeks of more than rotting fish. It exposes a systemic failure of oversight, enforcement, and corporate responsibility. The buried truth is rising to the surface, and it stinks.
So that's just one of the examples of what we're doing. And the truth is, this industry relies on being invisible. That's where we come in. We're filming it, we're documenting it, we're publicizing it, we're making it impossible to ignore. We're handing it over to regulators, we're handing it over to lawyers, and we're making it harder to get away with it. And by standing here and showing this to you as well, we're building a movement that says that this needs to stop. And this is just the beginning. Our goal isn't to make headlines, it is to make systemic change. And we've got more investigations in the pipeline, more legal strategies in motion, and more voices joining the call to end factory farming, everywhere, including at sea. So what's next? Our investigations are just the start. We're now stepping into legal territory to push for real systemic change. And one key area is waste, which has been inspired by the legal win recently by River Action. You might have seen it in the news, where chicken waste is now reclassified as industrial waste, so it can't just be pumped into the rivers anymore. And we're now exploring how the same thing could also apply to salmon farming, because all the waste is just dumped into the sea without being treated. These farms dump enormous quantities of feces, chemicals, and dead fish straight into the sea. And it is industrial waste on that scale. And we're challenging also the myth of organic farming. There's nothing organic about toxic seabeds or chemically treated fish, because even if it's labeled as organic Scottish salmon, they're still treated with chemicals. And we believe this label misleads consumers, and we'll be campaigning to hold this industry accountable for that. I've got a graphic over here. I feel like this is how salmon packaging should look like. And it's, I think all other animal products should be labeled like this as well, with actual view of how they're treated. So other campaigns that we're working on, salmon farming is just one part of the picture at the Green Britain Foundation. We're also working in multiple fronts to challenge the food system and build something better. We are working on school food reform. We are campaigning to change the UK's food policy, specifically around the outdated wording that encourages schools to serve meat and dairy 3 to 5 times a week. And this, we think that this policy doesn't reflect the modern nutrition science, specifically around like sustainability goals or choice, or the choices that many families want to make. So we're working to change that so that schools can serve more plant-based options and also planet-friendly meals. The other project that we're working on at the minute is turning grass to protein. So we're investing in food innovation. And yes, really, grass to protein. It can be done through fermentation. It can be so through fermentation and extraction processes, we can create high quality plant-based protein from ordinary grass without the cost of environmental damages or the cost of animal farming as well. So it's kind of essentially removing the cow from that equation. It's still early days, but it's part of a broader vision. Protein without cruelty, without carbon, and without compromise. Another example is Forest Green Rovers Football Club. That's one way we're demonstrating sustainable food in action. Forest Green Rovers was rescued by Dale in 2010, and he took it vegan in 2015, and it was the world's first vegan football club at the time. And in 2017, it got the vegan trademark by the Vegan Society. It was also dubbed as the world's greenest football club in the world by FIFA in 2017 as well. So that's another way we're trying to push on a different front and also try and reach an audience that is quite hard to reach, football fans. So I'll end with this. Factory farming doesn't just stop at the shoreline. It just sinks out of sight. But thanks to the work we're doing, thanks to the work that others are doing, and the movement that we're part of, it's being brought back to the surface. So if you are working on anything aligned, or if you have any knowledge or footage or insights, please come and speak to me, email our team. We want to collaborate and we want to publicize this and raise awareness as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Veeral. That was really, really interesting and something that I'm personally really interested in. So I'm taking questions on the Hoover app. On the front page, you'll see something that says a button that says Session Q&A, and in there you can find this session and add questions. We've only got about 5 minutes, so I'll probably only have time for like maybe 3 questions if you answer quickly, and if people do short questions. And we've got a couple to get started with. How close are campaign groups to persuading the UK government to ban factory farming of fish, or like how far along that timeline do you think we are? What progress have we made?
I think the strategy that we're using at the minute is to try and bring more regulatory, regulatory frameworks in place so that factory farming becomes more and more difficult, it becomes more and more expensive, and we're putting more hurdles along the way to a point where it increases the price of these animal products, that consumers might find it more pricey, and they eventually pick plant-based options over animal products. Because I think the price of animal products should be higher to kind of match the the real cost of environmental damage and the cruelty that these individuals face. So that's one way I think, you know, we are pushing on that boundary. Can't say exactly when, but you know, it's a slow process. It's a bit of a marathon, really.
And maybe mention some of what other organisations and campaigns issue as well as.
Yeah. So River Action's doing some work. There's other organisations that are kind of we're working with the Vegan Society at the minute, and also plant-based health professionals is another one. And we're working to, for example, plant-based health professionals are working on a campaign to make plant-based food the default options in the NHS. This was trialed in New York, actually, where the hospitals over there now serve plant-based food as a default, because that makes sense, right? Because it's a health issue. So we're working with them. We've also got a petition that's just been launched recently. We're to promote meat and dairy, a government petition to promote meat and dairy over, to promote plant-based options over meat and dairy, and that's a petition to the government to against the campaign that was launched to counteract veganuary. So that's another way we're kind of like trying to push the government to incorporate more plant-based options and to just give it a bit more oversight, really, of you know, that there are people looking into this and bring more systemic change from government level.
Okay. Another question we have is often traditional climate organisations or advocates advocate for eating less red meat, more chickens, more fishes. What are the strongest messages that you work on to convince climate advocates to reduce animal farming altogether, and particularly fish farming, which is sometimes bizarrely encouraged?
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, I think as Dale calls it, I'm going to quote him over here. He calls it the cow in the room. Particularly around like environmental movements and environmental NGOs, like, you know, there's a bit of a blind spot, as he says. Like, you know, and I've seen this firsthand with the movements that I've been part of. They, you know, everything's kind of like focused on CO2 emissions only, you know, targeting fossil fuels, but they forget the whole different side of methane emissions as well, and the environmental damages caused by the animal agriculture industry. So there's a lot of work that I think we need to do within the organizations that we are in to change mindsets. But I think when it comes to food, like, people take it very personally, and it makes it a lot more difficult. It's easy to kind of like put the pressure on fossil fuel industry and kind of blame them, but when we look at ourselves, it's difficult to change because we find ourselves difficult to change, right? So I think there's a lot of challenging that we need to do ourselves and challenge the people around us as well, and inspire them that there's another way to do things.
And this will be our last question. What have been the legal implications of some of the footage of the illegal dumping that you think recorded?
Yeah, sure. So this has this has led to 2 criminal investigations by SEPA, the Scottish Environmental Agency, and also a local authority over there. So they're looking into it. We also got like many headlines across the Times, Daily Mail, Sun, Guardian. So it's raised a massive issue. There was an article in the Grocer as well, which is like one of the leading kind of business trade magazines, which said what's happening with the salmon farming industry. It's, you know, there's been so many allegations against it. So I think there's this pressure building, and I think, I know that the salmon farming industry are feeling the heat as well. And you know, I think what we do with the Scottish industry over here will be looked at by other places as well, because Norway and Chile are one of the biggest as well. So I think the changes that we make over here will affect them as well, and environmental groups in those areas will also start to take more action. So we're hoping to be a blueprint, to serve as a blueprint for, like, you know, legal action, regulatory stuff across the world as well. Thank you.